Hello, namaste, welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana. It's lovely to have you here today. I am an intuitive reader, intuitive healer, and this video was inspired by one of my tarot students to clarify, to share questions about how I work as a tarot reader, especially in some difficult situations. So I'm really happy to share that with you. I did a very similar video. It was actually a response to Ethany, and I have linked Burning Questions Part 1 below in the description box. So I want to invite you in the chat or later in the comment section if you're watching the replay to add your questions. And I will continue to make these videos as I collect 6 or 7 questions, because I think it's important to share these as a reader so that, like I said below, if you are a seasoned reader or you are just new to learning tarot and you're trying to get a business started, there's lots of questions, and I think we all benefit from sharing our experiences. So I'm happy to do that with you today. Hi, Shannon. Okay. So just so it's clear, I'm not doing readings today. I'm answering questions about how I work as a reader. Hello, Dancing Soul Sister. Thanks for joining. So why don't we start with Shannon's question right off the bat, and then I have a whole bunch of other ones that are prepared and I can put up on the screen for you, because I think they're all really, really good questions. So this one I haven't ever answered before. Nobody's asked me this, and it's a super good question. And Shannon asks, do I keep a record of my client readings, or do you just keep their identifying details and appointment times? I used to keep a very detailed book, and I would write down, or I would keep the photographs of the spread and so forth. A lot of my client readings now are online. So my record is through a private listings. Now, I do not record every single reading, and so I can go back and look at some readings. So perhaps if I don't know, if I had a question about it, or I wanted a clip of me doing a reading, I would have my side of the reading as well too. I keep track of my, like you said, my appointment times and all of that. And I also have a record of that through my accounting system. So there's always a record to go back and look at when a reading was with somebody through the years. So I'm pretty good at my accounting. So that is one way, but I do not keep a detailed journal of what came up in that reading. If people are regular clients, then what I do is I have a series of notebooks, just scribblers like this, and I will go back, and I don't throw them away, and I will go back and see if I made notes. Well, I always make notes when I'm doing a reading. If there was something that I need to be reminded of. Yeah, why don't I do this? I don't know why I don't do it. It's not a bad idea, but also at the same time, there needs to be a fresh eye with each reading, and I feel like if I need to recall something, I'm going to recall it, or have the the professional attitude of asking someone to refresh my memory, because I seem to remember something about a conversation that we had last time we met. So yeah, so that's an awesome question, and please let everyone know if you do readings, if you do keep records, because I think it's a really great question. So I want to say welcome to Joel, and also Diana is here. So hello. All right, let's go to the next question. Some of these are really interesting questions. Do I have any suggestions for doing a reading with a deaf-blind person? I am a soft-spoken person and don't want to raise my voice. So this particular question, the client is both deaf and blind. And I suppose I could address this in two different ways. So in working with a blind person, one of the things that when I am reading the cards, I tend to do a description of the artwork more than I would if the person was able to see with their three-dimensional eyes. So as I'm doing the reading, if the person is blind or they have Coke bottle glasses on, or that, I can tell that there is some sight impairment. Also, sometimes I read in a dimly lit room, and also the artwork on some decks is not easy to see. So in that case, I will describe the reading like a painting, and I will try to bring in as many descriptors as possible before I start to do an interpretation. And one of the layers that I love to build in my readings is to have that story quality to the reading. And so that's a really beautiful way to just kind of paint the landscape of your reading as you begin. If the person is deaf, I have never done a reading for a deaf person. And so it would be important that they were looking at my lips. And so if this was an issue with positioning or so forth, I would make sure that they could see my face clearly, so they could read my lips. What else would I do for a deaf person? So deaf and blind was the question. There's a whole other level of sensitivity here. And because we are so attached to our senses, and when senses are removed, the other senses are heightened. So to me, this would be important to play up the senses that are present rather than absent. Present rather than absent. So how would I do that? It's such a good question. If you have done readings for blind, so deaf and blind, I know there's a special way to record a video and so forth, but I'm going to actually put this question out there for you. If you have any other resources, I would definitely record the reading so that there was a possibility of other translations, like Braille translations or something like that. But yeah, so let us know if you have more information about that. If you have a question you would like to ask me, make sure you highlight my name, you tag me, or you put the question in caps. Let's go to Shannon. Shannon is doing a reading for a deaf person on Wednesday. Speech to text app and show her as I go. Okay, that's a very good suggestion. I don't have it. As far as I know, I don't have an app like that. So that's great. And I guess the most important thing is to speak to the client and ask the client the most effective use of communication. Ask the client how they would like to be communicated with, right? So it's not about tiptoeing around somebody with different abilities. It's about being, having open communication with your client and asking your client how they would like to have this approached. Hi, Donna. Thanks for coming. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next question. Okay. What equipment do I use for live streaming, and can you describe your setup? Yes, I can. I have a Logitech Brio webcam that is mounted on my laptop, and that's the camera that you are looking at right now. And so the Logitech Brio webcam is plugged into my laptop. And so I like this camera much better than the FaceTime camera, which is on my MacBook, because the lighting is really, it's way more flattering. I find the FaceTime camera almost has a green hue to it. So the Logitech Brio is the one that I use. Now I had another Logitech webcam before, and the quality wasn't good enough in low light. So in the winter, I found it very, very grainy, and this one has worked well. And it also has a built-in microphone, so I use the microphone on the Logitech. Now I have dropped it a couple of times, unfortunately, and so I feel like it's not as perhaps operating optimally as it was at one point. So, excuse me, that's what you're hearing. So I do not use another microphone. The only time I would use another microphone is if I was recording like a meditation or something, and then I have an external microphone that I use. It's an old clunky thing. It's huge. All right, so then when I am showing you the, actually I can turn my camera. I'd have no problem showing you this. So when I am doing the face down, so if I do, right, so you know how I do face down, and I'm on StreamYard. I'm using StreamYard, and you don't see the StreamYard logo because this is a paid version of StreamYard. And so when I do the face down, right, so then I can show you the cards or the books or the spreads or whatever I'm doing here. And I have to be mindful that, so if I turn my body this way, I'm not looking at the cards, I'm looking toward my card rack. So one of the things is body positioning and so forth is kind of tricky here, but I'm going to show you what this looks like. So my iPhone is on a tripod, and this cord here is connected into my laptop. And then on my iPhone, I have an app. So it's the Epoch Cam app. I also find that the phone gets very glitchy. And so I need to make sure that I have rebooted, like closed all the apps, rebooted my phone, and then I go to the Epoch Cam app, and then I select that camera. So on StreamYard, you have to open two tabs. The first tab is for the webcam, and the second tab is for the iPhone. And then I turn off the microphone on my laptop. Otherwise, I get interference. Now, there is a way to do that as well too, but that's having three things going at the same time. So if I was to add another person, like an interview, then that's more details. So I think that's probably enough to get you started. If any of that's not clear, let me know. Okay, I'm going to go to the questions in the chat because the chat will disappear before I can do the other ones. Okay, so Beth's Life is here. Hello to Beth's Life. Beth's Life. She and I discussed it, and she can't lip read, so we have to do it that way. Okay, so that's great. That's great. Good to know. Most apps have a speech to text internally. Hello, Nancy. Right. So this is referring to the previous question. The client knows how they communicate. So the most important thing is to communicate with the client. And that goes for many, many things that we are going to answer today. All right, so let's go to Donna's question. What do you think about doing free readings for friends when one is just getting started as a professional reader? Okay, what do I think about it? I think that even if you are just beginning, there is a level of preparation that you have done. You have been studying, you are taking some care and time. There's some seriousness, there's some conscientiousness to this. And I feel like you deserve something in exchange for your energy. A free reading means that there's no exchange of energy. And so it doesn't have to be money. But one of the things that I would suggest is to say that it could simply be a single coin. Like in Canada, we have loonies and toonies, which are a significant size coin. So it could be a coin. It could be a bottle of wine. It could be maybe they buy you a cup of coffee next time you go out for coffee. I believe that there should be an exchange of some kind of energy. Maybe they're going to walk your dog tomorrow, or maybe they have a skill that they're going to swap with you. So I believe that there should be a token exchange of energy. I believe it validates and it shows your worth, right? There's a value to what you're offering, even though that you are a beginner. And Shannon asks, let's go down to Shannon's comment and then we'll come back up to Joel's. Can the exchange be a pay it forward? For sure, it could be a pay it forward. Let me think of an example. So when I am doing live readings on Tuesdays, one of the things I say is if you're not able to donate through Super Chat or, not everybody has the finances to pay even $5 for a reading. And so one of the things I say is to take the goodwill of this reading and do an act of kindness for somebody else. And that's something that I often say. So for sure, pay it forward is an option. Okay. Yeah, so we need to have an exchange of energy. Thank you, Dancing Soul Sister. Donna says, I totally agree about the exchange. And yet with close friends, I have trouble asking for educating about this principle. So this is part of building your confidence. It's about letting people know that what you are offering has a value. Okay, it's not just I don't know, it's not just a game of cards, right? There's some effort that is involved. There's an aspect of stress that's involved as well too, especially when you're reading for a close friend, because if something that arises that is awkward or challenging, you're putting yourself in a difficult situation. Okay, let's just finish with these comments and then I'll go back to the question above. At Donna's question, do you think it's too close to do a reading for a friend or family member? Do you know when you know some things around their life and how do you separate it in readings? Really good question, Joel. I do readings for my daughters. I do readings for their partners. I do readings for their friends. And yes, you know things about them. So one of the techniques that I use is to ask them, and I always make sure they have a question. So I try not to keep this general. So the more specific the question, the more you can speak to the question, because that's a lot easier. And then you're not going to go off on any tangents about personal things you know about them, unless it's connected to the question. But I often ask them, what does this card mean to you? Is there anything that you see in this card? And this can also happen, Joel, with people, with clients who you've done a lot of readings for. I do my very best to not let people be dependent on me. I used to have a client that came every single Wednesday. They would roll into the shop and want a reading about their boyfriend. And it got to the point where I knew their whole life story. I knew so much about them. And I had to really kind of shift the conversation. If you want to sit with me and do a reading with me, we need to shift this energy so that this is a healing experience for you on your journey. And I had to, step in and take charge. And I feel the same thing with friends and family. It's that you need to kind of rise up and take charge of the situation very, very professionally. And just like you would with a client, you're going to clear the space. You're going to, you have an invocation, you're going to do your invocation so that if you take it seriously, they will take it seriously. And yes, projection is a huge issue when you're reading for friends and family because you know a lot of things about them. So you need to read the cards. You need to read the cards and speak to the cards and speak to the artwork in the cards so that you're actually doing a reading. And it's not that difficult. You can do that. I want to go back up to Joel's question here. I find it hard to tarot journal with good questions. I always go blank with a general or even an intentional question. Tips. Tips. Okay, so reading strategies. There's lots and lots of layers. Hello, Danielle. There's lots of, so number one, that first card that you laid down, say to yourself, this is the most important card. This is the main answer to my question. And take some time to really describe that first card. What are you seeing in that first card? Describe the background, describe the foreground, describe whatever's going on. What are the position of things? Like, take a lot of time to focus on that first card. And then you can, second step would be to step back and to look at the whole picture of the reading and to really just kind of start to blur your vision and just start to see connections. Like, don't start to write, don't start to talk, just kind of just start to observe. And then the next thing I might do is to count. So count the number of pentacles, count the number of swords, count the number of cups and so forth. And just make a note, what is absent, what is present, right? So there's like strategies and steps to doing a reading. This is one of the things I teach. We're going to spend a lot of time on this in Tarot Foundations over the next few weeks and really building the layers of a reading, right? There's many, many layers to that. There's numerological layers. There's astrological layers. You can look at the seasons. You can look at the relationship between the cards that are on the table and where you are. You can look at the lunar energy. Does this feel like this reading matches the current lunar phase? Things like that. So I take it layer by layer. Yeah. I hope that gives you a few ideas, Joel. Thank you very much for the cup of tea, Shannon. I appreciate it. So here Nancy has another suggestion, and that's about giving a friends and family discount. So I do offer that, and I offer that for Reiki as well too. When I do, or if I'm doing yoga therapy, I do have a friends and family discount. Of course, for my children, I don't charge my children when I'm doing Reiki or yoga therapy with my children. But one of the things I do when I am when I'm offering a service to friends or family, is that I kind of go into the teacher mode. So I also empower them. I do this with clients too. I empower them to really make sure they're understanding what's happening in the reading or in the practice so that they can take this home. Like maybe they teach them how to do an oracle card reading on their own. That's good. I'm happy. I'm happy, Dancing Soul Sister. So yes, paying it forward is wonderful. Okay, let's go to Nancy's question. Do you believe in doing readings for yourself? It is hard to do readings for yourself. Hi there, Gerald. Yes, I do. I do readings for myself, and I tend to leave readings for myself on the table for a period of time. So I would do a spread. I might make some observations. I might write something down in my journal, and then I'm going to come back the next day or come back later in the evening and do some writing. So for sure, I do readings for myself. I do readings for myself, when I'm trying to learn a new deck. Like this one is I've shared this before. So this one, the Botanica Tarot, these are just the majors. I've removed the majors. And so one of the things I've been doing is to just draw a major arcana every few days for myself. And I sit with a question and I have a particular theme in mind. And then there's a multifold purpose here. So one is I'm working with a major archetype, and fully aware that this is not a full deck. But then it has another purpose as well too, because I'm also studying the deck. And so that is a really good way to get to know a deck. Okay, so yes, the answer is yes, Nancy. I'm going to take off that one. And let's go back to yours. I'll go to the ones in the chat first before I go back to the other questions. All right, I think I have answered your questions. So I will come back to the chat and answer the questions in the chat. Beth. Beth. So Beth, you wanted something deleted? Let's go see what. I'm not actually, you know what? I'm not going to delete it because I might mess up your ability to talk more. Okay. Let's go to, so continue to put your questions in the chat and I will get to them as I am able. All right. So here is the next question. How do you choose a deck for someone, and do you ever let them choose? So do I let people go through my decks, and do you ever pick a deck based on the question they are asking? So there's a bunch of different questions here. So first of all, when I have friends and family over, I do not let them reef through my tarot collection. My tarot collection has there's a door in front of it. And if somebody says, oh my, I would love to look at all your oracle cards, I don't let them plow through my stuff. These are special things to me. I might pull out a few decks and let them, and sit down and have a cup of tea and let them look at them. So, that's really not the question that was asked. My tarot cards and oracle cards are, they're my babies, and I look after them. And sometimes I sit down and I will wipe off a whole deck front and back because somebody has had oily fingers or I've had oily fingers or something. So I take care of my cards. How I choose a deck for someone is exactly what, and this question came from Rachel, it's based on the question. I have different associations with different decks. When I feel like somebody really needs the truth, I have certain decks that I feel like really cut to the chase, and I make sure that on my reading rack, so I have here, so these are the decks that I have out right now. So you can see I have quite a few decks right beside me. And then there's some other ones that are down out of the rack as well. There's a bunch over here. And then down on the floor, down here, I also have my basket that I travel with. And so I have quite a few decks out. And that is great when I'm working at home. But when I'm traveling, I don't have nearly as many decks with me. And sometimes when I'm at the store, I'll have 4 or 5 decks on a little table beside me. And so people will glance at them and they'll look at the pretty colors or they'll look at the boxes and they'll ask questions. For the most part, I feel like I know the deck that's better going to answer the question. I'll know if they need a gentler answer. I'll know if they need a more direct answer. I know if the deck speaks to something that they're speaking to. I'll know which decks are better for working with the transgender client, for example. The decks, I always make sure I have a couple of decks that have really good diversity, because sometimes you're working with a client who is, older or younger. I'll make sure that I have a deck that's going to work for somebody who's quite youthful. And so I know this, but they don't know this. So what if they are attracted and they want a reading from a certain deck? I might, but for the most part, I kind of feel like my experience is going to help them more. Okay. Dancing Soul Sister says, I am like you, don't want SO browse through my decks. Makes me feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Okay, I will come back to that. Did I answer that? How do you choose a deck for someone? I choose it based on theme. I choose it based on the energy of the deck. Once in a while, I will let them choose. Okay, so the next question, this is a really interesting question. Have you ever turned someone down for a reading? Most definitely. If you don't want to do a reading, what do you do? I have turned people down for readings because they're stoned or they're drunk, or they are just plain old belligerent, or they are challenging me in a way like, prove yourself, lady. So I have no problem turning away somebody from a reading, because I have had experience with all of these situations. It's not the first time, but I want to tell you that the first time any of these things happened, yes, it was very, very difficult. I believe that the client, the person who's asking for a reading, deserves respect no matter what. I don't know why they're medicated. And often they're medicated because they're in pain and they're coming for a reading because they're in pain. And I totally understand that. I respect that. And it's just the smell is very distracting for me. And so what I say to them is that I make it about me. I just say it's really difficult for me to do a reading in these circumstances. Would you like to go and sit outside and have a little chat? Maybe I can pull a card for you and we can talk about your issue. So I try to find some kindness and compassion, but I don't tend to do a reading. They're not going to hear either, right? They're not going to process it. So I try to divert, but yet serve. And there was something else I was going to say. Yeah, I encourage them to come back at another time. And the other part of this question was, so what if they are that kind of person that is challenging me? Oh, you're a psychic, are you? You can read my mind. Okay, well, I'm just going to sit here with my arms crossed on my chest and not say anything. And so I just smile, and I usually I'll try to break through their concrete barrier. So I'll ask them if they don't mind just relaxing a little bit. I'm going to guide you through some relaxation and meditation, and I will try to pick something up energetically. I'm pretty good, so often I can, but if I feel like the fortress around them is concrete, I will just simply say, I don't feel that this is in either of our best interest at this time. Thank you for coming to see me today. Here's your money back. Have a lovely day. So no problem. I have no problem in not doing a reading for someone. Okay. What's the weirdest, funniest question you ever had in a reading with a client? Well, the other day I did a reading for a cat. So that was pretty funny. And that was not even in person. That was on YouTube live reading. That was insane. And it's funny because I picked up on the cat's pain. I don't remember where it was now, but I picked up on the cat's pain. So that was a first. What is the weirdest question? Had so many funny questions, Joel. Let me think. I might come back to this. So, one of the things I find, one of the weirdest readings I had was a lady who came in, and she actually had a sheet. She had a list of questions, and not one of those questions was about her. And she lived with all these people. She lived with her sister. She lived with her brother-in-law. She lived with her, like there was a whole bunch of people in this house, and she had this whole list of questions for all these people. And I thought, this is really weird. Why isn't she asking nothing about herself? It's like she was trying to nose her way into everybody else's life. Maybe she was afraid to ask a question about herself. This is a really good question, Joel, and I'm gonna think about it and see if something comes to mind, because I'm sure there's got to be something funny. Okay. And it's just, for me, Dancing Soul Sister. Oh, did I write your name down? I'm sure I did. Hannah, sorry, I forgot your name. And if your name is not in your YouTube channel and you would like me to use your name, please let me do. I've kept this little list that I'm referencing. It's not like I do animal healings. I do Reiki with animals and work with animals all the time. What is unusual for me was that this person was on my live tarot reading, and I did a tarot reading for a cat through YouTube. So that was the odd part, because I just feel with animals, I want to be in touch and contact with animals. Yeah. Love working with animals. All right. Medical questions. This is a very important question, I feel. Hello, Liz. Welcome, Liz Westar Tarot. Let us talk about this. So somebody asks about a medical condition, and maybe this can get in the very weird. The weird for me, because somebody will ask about a medical condition, and I will go to the esoteric associations or the chakra associations, and I'll start, I'll I'll take them in a completely different direction. But what I do when there is a medical condition or a medical question, one of the first things I ask is, are you working with a team of professional practitioners? So tell me who you are presently working with for this question. Do you have a psychiatrist? Do you have a counselor? Do you have a chiropractor? Like, who are you working with? And then I say point blank, I am not a medical practitioner. I'm answering this question through the work that I have done with chakra psychology. I am a certified yoga therapist, and I'm an empath, so I can pick up. I'm a medical intuitive, but I'm not a medical practitioner. And so I make it abundantly clear that I am not qualified to answer in this three-dimensional world a medical question. So I make sure that that's really, really clear. So this question was much longer, and this is a synopsis of the question. This question was about, what if somebody is an alcoholic and you use a tarot deck like the Urban Tarot, or I'm thinking like the Housewives Tarot. I wouldn't ever use that, such a kitschy deck, but there's a lot of alcohol, a lot of cocktails in the deck, or is drug paraphernalia. So the question is, what if the particular deck triggers something and then the client leaves? Actually, this goes on to the next question too, about insurance and so forth. So do you pre-screen for medical conditions? Again, I have a lot of decks at my side, whether I'm at home or I am out. And I'm very cautious about medical questions. And I'm also very confident in my energy healing the emotional cause underlying certain medical conditions. And for the most part, I let them know the underlying energetic reasons for what they are experiencing. So I very seldom will actually do a tarot reading. I do more of an energy healing with them. So that's what I do. But if I do pull a card and I know that they are struggling, so the answer is yes, I do. I ask them about their medical condition. I ask them to expand on it. Or if there is a mental health issue, again, I ask them to expand on what is going on. I have no problem asking lots and lots of questions because you know from the kind of question or what's happening. When people are hurting and in pain, they deserve. I want to help. I want to provide another point of view that might get them, moving in another direction, and hopefully towards a little bit of wellness. So yeah. So the second part of that question, was about about insurance and stuff like that, and disclosures and waivers and all of that. When I am working outside the home, so I am insured by the store. So the store where I do readings, that's why one of the reasons they take such a big cut from the readings, also for advertising and so forth. So if you're working outside the home at a shop or something, usually the shop is going to have insurance and all of that. We also have on the wall at the store, there's a disclosure, saying what we promise and what you can expect and so forth. When I'm working with people one-on-one, I tend to take my time with clients and get to know my clients. I don't do a cold, like if you have paid me for a reading, I'm not just gonna dive into your reading. I want to get to know a little bit about what's going on, and then I will know where I need to go as far as any disclosure or anything like that, or if I need to pause and send them send them something to sign. Very rarely do I do waivers for tarot readings. My insurance does not cover me for tarot. I've actually never inquired about that. I have insurance for yoga and Reiki, and I've never actually extended the policy for that. So I'm really not the right person to ask. And I know that I've heard in a lot of different places you can't even get insurance for this, but I know that the shop where I work has insurance for the tarot readers. So in Canada, it is possible. Okay. Let me go to the next one. So I'm going to go back to your questions in the chat. Oh, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. Hi, Karen. What's your thoughts when a seeker wants to invite a third party that's not there? Love readings, for example. Some say it's unethical. The question should focus on the seeker. I'm confused. Hello, Julia. Yes, Joel, this is a huge, huge issue. But I want to tell you how I see this. How I see this. Okay, and I need to, I didn't even bring my water over here. Okay. Relationships. Okay, so we enter into a relationship. We have a relationship with a person because they are reflecting something back. And whether it's a partner or a husband or a child, that person that they are talking about is a mirror of them. Or there is an aspect of their energy that has something to teach the seeker, the querent. Therefore, I don't have an issue looking into that question. And as I'm shuffling the cards, I'm very, very specific. I repeat the name of the person. Sometimes it's just initials. I focus on the connection, the relationship, and I try to say both names. I repeat the question over and over, and I speak honestly. I speak honestly, always with compassion and kindness, but I speak honestly and I say what I see. And often, you might hear me say, I'm guessing this is not probably what you might want. This is probably not what you want to hear, but this is the energy that I'm picking up at this time. But also I'm aware that could easily be a projection. Maybe they are looking for I'm glad this person is out of my life kind of thing. So that perception has really helped me deal with third party readings. Okay. And I believe there are no other questions. Dancing Soul Sisters. So Hannah is in Germany. It's lovely to hear where you are all from. And let me take off that one. I'm pretty sure that was the last one there. Okay. So I thought today what I would do, so we are now in the energy of the new moon in Cancer. So in Canada, in 6 hours, 5 hours and 30 minutes approximately, the energy of the new moon will be with us. And so we will have Cancer Moon, Cancer Sun. And there's been some pretty emotional, watery readings that have come up this week. And I thought what I would do is just offer a reading for the group. And I'm just kind of looking around at my cards here and trying to decide. I think I'm going to use the Star Seeker Tarot. That seems like a good one. And then I think I will pull a Wonder Walking Oracle card. That's what I'll do. Okay. So this reading, this is a general energetic reading for the new moon in Cancer. And one of the questions that I have is, it's about heightening our understanding of how emotions move through us. So one of the things that have come up over the last few days with lots and lots of readings is I don't want to, that's so harsh, the inability, the discomfort with the challenging emotions. And as challenging emotions arise, people tend to, at least the people I've been working with the last week, they get busy. They don't want to lie down and feel their emotions or sit quietly and journal. They want to go for a run or not be in the emotions. So part of my question is, in this very emotional next couple of weeks, what is it? How can we better manage our emotions, and how can we learn better from our emotions? So one of the things I would encourage you to do today, is to ask yourself, perhaps, which emotion, because this is an optimal time to be working with emotions, which emotion would I benefit from focusing on at this time? So that's another really good question. Or how can emotion X move? How can I help emotion X move through me at this time? So this is a really great 2 weeks to explore your emotions and to work with them on an energetic level, healing level. Okay. Gerald is Scorpio, Cancer. So this new moon is rather interesting. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to pull a Wonder Walking card first. I just did I was just on, and Amy, the creator of a deck for Wonder Walking, is doing a Kickstarter, launching a Kickstarter, and she's putting out a new journal to go. And it's not really a journal. It's just an amazing extended guidebook to go with this deck. So this is a very watery deck. This deck is intended to connect with nature and magical beings and creatures and all of that. Okay, so this is the card. And the key word is textures. Textures. And isn't that interesting? Because I'm asking about feelings, and the card that comes up is called Textures. And this reminds me of something that I'm working with in the intuition class, and that is to, when we're talking about feelings, we also need to be fully aware of our hands and our skin and the organ of the skin. And so perhaps one of the ways to heighten awareness is to pause and actually, like reflect on texture and allow texture, allow layers, allow texture to amplify the energy or amplify the feelings or to guide the feelings. This really speaks to the hands a lot for me as well too. Okay. I think I'm going to do a 3 card, and I'll put that oracle up on the top. This is the Star Seeker Tarot by Nikki Ferrada. These are both rose petal finish decks, rather sticky decks. Oh my goodness. Okay, so, well, this is the Gemini card. This is the Lovers card. And in this particular deck, it is rather, so we're talking about relationships. We're talking about interaction with other humans and to explore the interaction with others. And you know what? That's just funny what I was just saying and how I was answering Joel's question. To be courageous enough to see yourself in another, because you are the other. The other is you. You are present in each other's life because you are present in each other's life because you have something to teach each other. Rupali Khanna, I am not doing personal questions today. I'm just winding up with a group reading here. Perhaps you can come back next Tuesday when I will be doing but I'll be doing live readings. Okay. 10 of Swords. Let's look at this card specifically. Okay, so I'm going to look to the artwork. Look how that energy is moving through and moving away. The white light behind the figure in the card. And the skull in the foreground, the skull in front of the human, has a sword through the crown. Wow. Okay. So what happens when we energetically, when energy comes in through the crown? And don't forget the crown chakra. So the energy comes in through the crown and meets at the pineal gland. And so we have this connection with the third eye chakra. So the frontal point at the eyebrow center, the pineal gland here, the energy comes in through the crown. We have a rainbow in this card as well, too. So working with light energy, allowing yourself to feel light energy. Do any of you, when you're working with any kind of meditation practice, you start to feel those tingles on your skin, or you start to get, kind of really buzzy in this space? To me, this is it's about leaning in to the sensations, leaning into the physical sensations, leaning into the physical textures of your experiences of the emotions. So to get really tangible with your emotions. I love that the 10 of Swords is here, because the 10 of the Swords, it's the 10 of the Swords. The 10 of Swords is inviting us to restore and to heal that disconnect with the heart space. It's like a surrender, right? It's a surrender to that excessive cerebralness of the previous sword cards. So it wants us to lie down. It wants us to feel that buzz coming in through the fontanelle that closed up when we were a baby. It wants us to open up and connect with spirit. in its highest frequency, the Suit of Swords is about that. It's about that ethereal connection. So feel that ethereal connection. What are the textures that you experience with that? And perhaps being inspired by Amy's deck, you will be able to go out and to sit in nature, to perhaps, sit at the beach, close your eyes, lie down, and feel. This couple is outside in a field. Wonder walking is about experiencing these things outside in nature. Sometimes it's really difficult to feel these things when we are indoors. Okay, this is a random card to weave in here other than a 6 and a 6. Okay, so 6 of Pentacles, 6 lovers. 10 plus 6 is 16. 22, which is a 4. Okay, 6 of Pentacles. So again, we have hands. Remember what I was saying about hands and textures. Let's get physical with this Pentacles card. Let's go to the physical body. Bye, Gerald. Let's get really physical with the Suit of Pentacles and talk about the hands, the body, the healing hands, exchanging healing with another. I feel like the way to connect with and move through this next couple of weeks, this next emotional fortnight, is to, maybe this is about touch. It's about touch. It's about massage. It's about feeling energy and connecting with your feelings as physical sensations. What do you think of that? Yeah, they are very beautiful together. So think about that, and maybe if you're, in summer, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and you get a bug bite, and the bug bite is particularly annoying, sit with the sensation of the bug bite. You know what I mean? Like, don't dummy down the physical sensations. Mm-hmm. Touch each other. Textures. So this keyword was textures. Really, really interesting. Okay. So those are a few words of wisdom from Spirit, guiding you through the energy of the new moon in Cancer, under the sun of Cancer. It's a lot of water. Make sure that you introduce some fire right into your week. Light it. I know we don't tend to light as many candles in the summer, but we need to connect with fire. Add a little turmeric or cinnamon to your food. Like we need to balance all this water with fire. And I have a funny feeling that this idea of touch and massage is it's that action part, right? It's that active part of the feelings. So yeah. Alrighty, well, I'm going to leave you, and I will be back on Tuesday. I'm teaching Reiki this weekend. I'm sure some of you saw the banner. I'm doing this in my home, and I have a small group of people that are going to be here this weekend. And I'm hoping, soon that I can get back and start teaching larger retreats and so forth in different places. And if any of you want to refresh or to do this remotely, I have an option as well too for remote attendance, and that is Saturday and Sunday for most of the day, 10 to 5 Pacific. So yeah. So have a wonderful weekend. Namaste.